Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's January 26th, and this will be our chart lesson for the day. Tough trading day. You really had to be patient today. There's not a lot of setups. Actually, I had a lot of possibilities, but my signal bars, this is one of those days where the signal bars just were not very good. They were all the timing of the signal bars was really off. Um, on my chart. So I didn't get a lot of trade opportunities. So, of course, you only needed one or two good ones, and there were a couple that ran here, but getting them to set up just, you just didn't get a lot of setup. So it's not going to take me long to go through these trades. Um, just trying to think if there's anything else. But you can clearly see that we trended up here during the overnight. We backed off. We took about half of that back, and then we just went sideways from there. And this green, you can clearly see the green trading range, and you can see every time we came up here, we turned down and went lower. We didn't this time. We actually backed off to the midline, then came back before. Of course, this is all after 2 o'clock, so it doesn't really help you either. So um, there's just not a lot of opportunities. You'll see a lot of green ones on here, and so you really had to stretch to find some trades today. I mean, I see 1, 2, 3 maybe really good trades. And even even they're not perfect trades. They're setups that meet our criteria, and the rest of them are all green. So it's not going to take long. But anyway, I'm going to back out. We'll go through the trades. You can clearly see the overday. I mean, this is about a 15-point range, so it's not even a very big range. I mean, it is big enough to get some trends, but you just don't get any setups. So it is what it is. There's going to be days like that. We had a pretty good day yesterday, but just wasn't much happening today. So let's back out here and we'll go through each trade and we'll go from there. We early on 7 o'clock comes right in this little two-legged correction here. I think right in this area here. So you got your first leg down correction. We work on the second leg. There's a second entry here. This is a very small bar. It's like 5 ticks, so it's very low risk. And we tried to go lower there once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and prices can't get any lower than that. It's right at the EMA. It is a two-legged correction. It's very low risk. It's not a second entry though. I mean, it's clearly 2 legs back though, and you can see right here you got a first entry, a second entry, and so that's technically by the counts that's the third entry, but this all looks like one move, so it clearly looks like 2 legs. So I like that one. It's a little aggressive because it's not a perfect setup. Turns out it's probably one of the better trades of the day, and that's your first break of this trend channel, which is very clear. And you get your break, and you can see there's 1 leg up, correction, second leg up, and then we sell off. So it's perfect price action, really. Just not again, my signal bar is just not very good, and it's a little bit congestive looking there too. So I'm going to mark that one green. But then notice how we come down here and we get a first entry and we shoot right through the EMA and pull back and get a failed second entry long. Before I even talk about this trade, I'm going to say this, and I say this all the time, and people are saying, why'd this failed second entry fail? Look, if you trade what you think is a failed second entry and it fails, it's not a failed second entry. This is an advanced entry. You need to be a really skilled chart reader to trade this. I get people that can't even figure out what a second entry is, and they're trying to trade failures. Make sure you hear this, and I'm going to start saying this more often. These failures are, especially at reversal areas like this, are very powerful. They're great setups. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose more times than you're going to win. So please don't send me an email asking me why a failed second entry failed. Because if it failed, it's not a failed second entry. It's just a good second entry that maybe had like this one. It was a failure. You consider it a failure when it breaks lower, but it turned back up again. So then it goes lower. So technically, it's not. I'm trying to think how to say this, but really just to back up there, that's not a good example. But it ticks higher there. It actually starts going sideways, and it looks like, hey, this was a bad choice. it ends up working out. You don't get stopped out, but not every trader's brave enough to ride that out, and they'll end up exiting with a tick or two of loss or something like that. So, but this is still a failed second entry long. But if it went higher, let's assuming right here it went higher and it doesn't fail, in the end, it's not a failed second entry. It's just a trap. It was a short trap, and it traps. So people outsmart themselves trying to trade failures, and they just end up getting trapped on the wrong side, and then they have a loser, and they can't figure out why. You got to remember, we're not pattern traders, and this is a very advanced entry. So I'm going to say this one more time. If you are fairly new to this, forget about failed second entries. Concentrate on the basics, because once you understand the basics and you can clearly spot a second entry, failures will be almost automatic. So if you're having to ask, then you don't understand them well enough to even be thinking about trading them. So please don't send me an email asking me why a failed second entry failed, because if a failed second entry failed, it's not a failed second entry. So there's a lot of play on words there, but I don't know any clearer way to say that. It's not just like I said right here, when this broke lower, I traded that as a failed second entry, but if it would have turned up and went higher there and turns out I get stopped out and it's not a failure, then it, even though it broke lower, it's not a failed second entry. It's a short trap. I would have gotten trapped and I would have been fooled on the short, but this one ends up working out. So make sure you understand that. So notice the new high, first entry, second entry, and it fails and goes lower. It probably shakes a lot of people out right there, but it's still a failure. This one's tempting because we come back again and turn down. That's a big bearish bar, but you got to go low right there. There's not much room to scalp out. It's at the low of a move. Now we would probably look. This whole big thing's one leg, and you get a second leg here, and you can see it bounces right there. But there's actually a leg here and a leg here. So your measured move's way down here on those two legs. That's a leg down, a correction, and another leg down. So that's what we're looking for, our target. So that might tempt you into, and that is off the key entry point, and it's a hugely bearish bar. So the problem is you're going sideways here, this little breakout pullback short, and those tend to not be very reliable trades. But if you want to be aggressive, that one's probably okay. Then you get a perfect second entry short here. Notice that new low, first entry, second entry. But look at my signal bar. You can't trade that. So I don't get to trade that one. Hopefully maybe some of your charts were different, but I don't have a setup there. It's a great second entry right off the key entry point, right off the EMA. And people say, well, why don't you just take it anyway? Well, the next time you do that signal bar filters out so many losers, it's ridiculous. So I'm a true believer in signal bars. If my signal bar is not bearish and I'm wanting to go short, I'm not taking it. Not unless it's a runaway trend or something crazy. And this is not a runaway trend. I mean, it's a clear trend channel, and it's a perfect second entry off the trend, the key entry point of the trend line, the EMA, the midline of the bigger pattern. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to like that trade, but I'm not going to mark it just because that signal bar doesn't fit our entry criteria. And then we bounce, we get a break here, and we run back up to the main trend line. And again, you don't get an entry on this one. It just, the bottom falls out. But we're looking for that second leg down here, and of course we're moving down, and you actually get a first entry, second entry. That's the first break here, and there's resistance there. We've turned down there. That's the notice that's the close from yesterday. We bounced there a few times. Now it's acting as resistance. That's two legs back to the EMA. I like that one. There's also a little congestion here, and you could treat that like a failed break higher. Again, you got the midline, the EMA, second entry short, now that's a perfect bearish signal bar. That's another reason that I like that trade. Go short right there, and that was just a quick, easy move. What it is, you get a lot of people trying to pick a bottom here, and they get fooled, and they have to exit here. And as soon as they exit and all their sell orders are hit after they've bought, then it reverses. And that's what happens when you try to pick bottoms. So there is a second entry long here, but you don't want to be trying to pick bottoms like I just said. And notice that first entry and second entry. no, you're playing this little short-term channel, and you got a break now and a couple of pushes to a new low, and then it reverses. If you got a higher low here, I'd say take that, but that's not technically a higher low. It's low's lower than that one. So that one's a little risky. I mean, it's another one that you could argue for it to be green. I'll mark it green, but you know, you got to be careful with those. I'm just telling you, you'll have a lot of losses. And you get a higher low here, no signal bar. You're running up. Here's your failed what looks like it's going to be a failed second entry short, and then we just go sideways, and you get this little drop lower. But of course, you can't enter on the inside bar. And then this might have been one you consider for a short, but again, the signal bar is not very good, and you don't get a lower high till way down here. And now you got to go short right into what's kind of been a, you know, the midline of support and resistance all the way across here. And so that's not a good idea to do. And I lost my spot here. So yeah, I just don't think you want to go short there. I think we were talking about right here. If this would have broke higher and then turned down and went out there, I mean, we're still a long way back from the EMA. And that is the first break of this bigger blue channel working down through here. So again, if you had a good signal bar, by all means take that trade. But it's just an up down bar. You know, you go up and then down, and it's just kind of sideways. It's a little risky. Even being away from the EMA, a lot of times it'll break lower and it'll go sideways for a bit. So I just don't like it. And again, there's the lower high right into the support resistance. Not a great place, and you see what happens. It would have failed, and it is a second entry as well. But it's, you know, anytime you break out of one of these little ranges, the odds are it's going to go back into the range, and not these breakout pullbacks are not very reliable. And you can see there, that's a short trap. And so if you took that trade, the reason you lost is because you got trapped. You should have played it like a range and looked to go back. And there is a failure here. Notice there's a first entry, second entry. And the problem with this one is this is not really where you want to look for failed second entries, although it's probably going back into that range again. So that's another one you could argue for green. And it's just, you know, I don't like it, but you know, it's a failed. When prices try to go lower or higher twice and they fail, they're generally going to go in the other direction. But you want to take the context into account, and you can see where you got a couple of no body, real small body here, a doji, almost basically a one bar trading range. Just not a good place to be entering in either direction. And of course, we run back up here and we make another lower high off this high right at the top of the range. But again, I have no signal bar, and it just turns and goes straight down, but no signal bar. Then you get a lower high here. Again, it's right in the middle. It would have worked. I don't know if you would have caught this trade or not, because it gaps right there and just keeps going. I doubt you'd have been able to get your order in and get filled on that anyway. But that's another one you might argue to be green. And then we bounce a little bit. You would think we were headed down here, but we don't. We just go sideways. Here you got a little range. You get a breakout, but you got to go short right into all that support. Not a good idea. And you do get a little breakout pullback short here. And notice that we've got that one leg down. I didn't show these two legs here. And so we're overdue for a couple of legs down. Again, this is not a great, the only reason I like this one is because it's engulfing. It breaks higher and turns, it goes down and goes out all in one bar. So you probably got some longs trapped because of that nice big bar right there. People trying to trade back into the range. But again, you just got a down up bar there and then another down bar. And that's another reason to be leery of this, although this does break higher and turn down. It's an engulfing bar. So you may take that one. Again, it's aggressive, and you can see I really don't like it, because if it would have kept on going, you really don't want to use this for your signal bar. And if you had of it, it wouldn't have broke lower anyway, and then it starts climbing, and that would have been enough reason to leave that one alone. But if you broke higher and you saw the engulfing bar and you went short under that little 2-bar matching low right there, I could live with that, but it's aggressive. So we come down, we bounce again. You don't get any signal bars. There's no rejection here yet. This is just kind of, we do bounce, but that's not real rejection and no setup. And then you say, oh, we don't go far. But you do get a 2 legs of correction and turn down right off the middle. And that's why I kind of like that one. We tried to go higher once, twice, 3 times. Look how far away we are from the EMA. It's 2 measured legs up. So on a bigger picture, that is a second entry short. And a very nice signal bar with enough room to scalp out there. Again, it's not a perfect setup, but it meets our criteria, so I marked it green. We come back down here, we bounce. No signal bar, so you really got to wait. If you'd had a good small signal bar here, I'd say it would be, you got a triple test, but there's no setup because you made the low, you test it once, twice. So see, you got to wait. Let's see if we get a higher low, and we do, and we get a very good signal bar. And so normally I probably would have marked this one blue because we're overdue to go the other side. But notice you get an inside bar, then another side, it finally breaks higher, another, it's just all congestive. Just again, it's not a real good entry. And so I just left it green. We run up here. First entry, second entry. That's your first break of this channel. We're not quite back to the highs. And so on that second entry long, I like that one. Again, we missed most of the move and we're very close to the highs. The key here is, do you have enough room to scalp out before getting here? And maybe you might even consider to here because that's probably where we're going to go. But again, I marked it green because it's not a great setup. So we run up, make a new high, and we try to go higher once, and you get a lower high, then you try to go higher twice, and so now you got a second entry long, and if it breaks lower here, that's a failure. And this is where you would look for a reversal pretty much, and there's a possibility that there might be a trend line right there. And so there's a few different reasons to go short right there. And again, it takes it a minute, and you could have probably even gotten shaken out of that one. So it's just one of those days where you just can't get a good setup. The market really has no direction today. It's just meandering around between support and resistance. And really, this started about between 9:20 and 9:30. And we stayed within that pretty much, that green channel all day long. Had a little breakout there, not much, and then we broke out about an equal distance right there. You can see that, and turned back down. But this is why I like ranges. This is when you get a range like this. I mean, look how consistently it turned down up here, and look how consistently it turned up down here. Those are easy to trade. And I like those kind of days if you get a setup, but notice I'm not getting any setups. So there just wasn't much to trade with it. So honestly, that's one that I like and probably would have taken, even though it's generally you want to wait on that lower high because that is a second entry short. I didn't mark it. I should at least probably marked it. I like that trade. And even though I don't think it's a great setup, I think you're better off to wait on the lower high, which comes here, and then you don't get a signal bar again. It is a second entry short. Technically, it's notice there's a little double bottom there, so that's a little bit of a stretch, but you can clearly see there's 2 legs up, and if you do the count, it looks right, but you have to count that as a double bottom, and that's really kind of pushing it. But that's the other reason why I was hesitant to not mark it, because it doesn't really fit but you can clearly see the 2 legs up. You get a break, 2 legs up, and we've turned down there at support several times, and a nice signal bar a long way away from the EMA. Again, though, you're better to wait on that lower high, which comes right there, but you don't get a signal bar. Maybe your chart looks better than mine. Maybe it's my chart today. But if you had a good signal bar right there, by all means go short. And you can see that's a quick, easy move because they catch these people trying to get long up here that don't know any better. So anyway, that's what I saw today. Not a very good trading day. If you didn't catch a trade, one of these couple early on, you just, I mean, technically, I mean, think about it. From 9:15 all the way to 1:15, there's nothing in there but a few greens. Nothing. Just a lot of sideways. You get a little move sideways, a little move sideways. You can't trade this stuff. So it's frustrating, I know. And this is what really separates good traders from bad traders, because a good trader will sit here and wait or either pack up and go home. A bad trader will sit here and they'll get frustrated and they'll just throw a dart at the board trying to catch one, and then they have a loser. And then they say, oh no, I got to get it back. And so they try another one. So then they're pressured to take another trade to try to get their loser back. And then they have two losers. And then they're panicking because, hey, I got two losers, and if I have a third loser, I got to close up, and I'm gonna have a horrible day. And next thing you know, they got three losers, and they're hanging on to something, praying it comes back, and they lose even more money than they should lose. And I mean, I've been there, I know, and that's where you gotta. That's what'll separate you from being a winning trader and a losing trader, is having that patience to say, I can't enter. There's not a trade here, or this is a horrible day. I'm just wasting my time. I'm gonna go play golf, or I'm gonna go spend time with my kids, or I'm gonna go walk around the block, or I'm gonna go bowling, or I'm gonna go do whatever you like to do, fishing, whatever. Go do it. Don't waste your time sitting here and talk yourself into a losing trade because there's not any setups, and that's what happens to people. And if you have a bad day like that, as a scalper, you might wipe out your whole week's profit, and you just can't do that. You're not going to be successful trying to do that. I'm going to wrap it up. We're over 20 minutes here. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.